It's a Guy Jeans podcast.
My next guest, you guys, is Lance Lopez. If you guys have never heard of Lance Lopez, you got to check him out. He's an American blues rock and Texas blues singer, guitarist, and songwriter. He's a shredder. You guys check out his YouTube channel and check out some of his albums. It's pretty impressive. He's been influenced by Jimi Hendrix, B.B. King, and Stevie Ray Vaughan. And Jeff Beck has described him as a very exciting and intense blues guitarist. He's spoken over the years about being mentored by both Billy Gibbons and Johnny Winters. You guys got to listen to this one. This guy's a shredding guitar player. So here he is, you guys, Lance Lopez. Lance, how you doing?
I'm good, Guy. Thank you so much for having me.
You bet, man. Thanks for being on my podcast. I've been researching you, man.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I hope that's a good thing.
I've been checking you out, man. You rip.
Okay, cool.
You actually blew my mind, man. When I was listening to your music and seeing some of your videos and stuff, I was like, man, this guy tears it up. I was super stoked.
Thank you so much, Guy. Thank you so much, man. Really, that's a big compliment. Thank you.
So folks that out here in California may not know who you are. Could you give like a little intro to like who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. And I just got back from California, as a matter of fact.
You did?
I love it out there. Yeah, I was in SoCal for a few shows there with Cadillac Zach, and we had some great shows we did together. And just got back. I think we're planning on trying to come out there and do some soon. But yeah, I just played in LA with Robbie Krieger from The Doors came and sat in with us, as a matter of fact.
No way. That's so
cool. we love California. I've been playing there for many years, but I'm originally from Texas. I grew up in Texas. I was born in Louisiana. I grew up in Texas. The style of music I play is blues rock, or very Texas influenced blues rock. I was mentored and had the privilege to play with and know most of the greats that kind of forged the path in Texas blues rock. Mm-hmm. I've been making records now for quite some time, since the late 90s. And this is my 10th studio album I just made, called Trouble Is Good, that we just put out on Cleopatra Records. I'm really excited about it. So, I'm a blues rock artist, and this album is more emphasis on the rock.
Nice. I always ask musicians when they're on my show, and I'm just going to ask you right off the bat. I usually ask it at the end of the show, but what's the craziest thing that's ever happened to you, man, while you're on stage, while you're playing? I know you've done shows all over the world, but like, can you think of a crazy thing that's happened to you?
The craziest thing that's ever happened to me while I'm on stage.
Yeah, gotcha.
Oh man, this is how we're starting out, huh?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Let's hear it. I love it.
Oh man, wow. I'm just trying to think, going back over my entire life.
Right? Yeah. I've heard some funny ones, man. Oh my God.
The craziest thing that's ever happened to me while on stage. I don't know. There's so many good ones. I mean, there's just running over the decades and the many different countries, the many different venues.
I know there's some good ones. I know there's some good ones, man.
I mean, it runs the gamut. Everything from, oh my gosh, just, signing the club owner's, wife's boobs, guys put $100 bill in the tip jar, wanting you to play his wife a song and getting pissed off. I mean, it just runs the gamut.
Oh, no way.
There's funny. So many. I mean, I don't know. One of the most funniest things was, I remember playing years ago. This probably was on the first couple of tours we did in Europe, and we played a club in Antwerp, Belgium. And I was in my early 20s. I thought, I look back on it now, I was just a kid, man. And we were carrying around, like, I had one van that just literally carried the Marshalls. And I think there was like another van for the rest of the band.
Awesome.
You know, we're playing these little tiny places too, which was hilarious, you know. And I went in there with a big wall of Marshalls, and the club owner was this very astute, aristocratic, like very elite, very wealthy Belgian lady. And I remember we started the show and we came out just roaring, you know, and it was hilarious. And I remember, and she was like walking around and was the hostess of the party and had everybody entertained. And then we started and she just had this look of terror.
I love it.
And she had like the pearls and the black dress and the gloves and the whole thing, you know. And the little blonde lady, you know, with the wine glass. And then she runs to the front of the stage and she goes, "Linz, it is so loud, man. I am traveling through time."
I love it.
So we laughed for years after that.
So is there a big difference playing in Europe versus the U.S.?
Oh, absolutely.
What's the difference?
Well, I think that, you know, blues and blues rock, man, I just think ever since the beginning of blues music, it just always was embraced as an exotic, imported good from the United States to that culture. I think it was always, you know, how exotic imported goods are highly sought after, like certain spices from the Orient or other things, etc. You know, supply and demand. Like if I can't have it now, I really want it. You know what I mean? And I think that was the I feel like it's just in my perspective of just having been a scholar of it my entire, you know, well over half my life. I mean, since I was literally 12 years old, you know, I've literally been a scholar of the music. And so tracing the origin from, and I don't want to get all weird and historical and too history nerd for you. No, but like to travel to trace the origin and travel from West Africa, beginning in Senegal and Mali and all those different, like the desert blues kind of, you know, where you had artists like Ali Farka Touré and Tonari Wynn and these certain sort of African artists that still have the remnants of what the original blues was. I mean, if you go back and listen to Ali Farka Touré, his recordings that we have left now, and his son, you know, all the Farka Touré family, you hear kind of where the origins were, and then tracing that to the American South over to, you know, from the slave trade, how it was then morphed into the blues that we had of the South and Mississippi, then translated up to Chicago with the electric blues, then became the export to overseas. And that's where you had the record companies coming in, even from as far back as as all the Delta and country blues. But you had all those records beginning to then finally make their way to England and Europe 30 years after they were made. You know, which is crazy. That would be like us, them receiving music that was made, you know, that'd be like them getting Black Hole Sun for the first time. Right. You know, so you have to think about that in those terms, that they were finally getting Robert Johnson 30 years after Robert Johnson recorded those records. So, you know, and then to be retranslated back to America via, you know, the young British blues, and then the beginning of blues rock. And I believe that is where the beginning of blues rock began. And it really began I felt like in England. It also began in Chicago with Michael Bloomfield, Paul Butterfield, you know, and those guys like that. And then down in Texas with Johnny Winter and the Winter Brothers. So I feel like you had that whole big exportation, import, export. So I believe that's when it began, was the exportation of the music as an exotic product, and then it being retranslated back to us. So, you know, it's just always been held in high regard. It's just always been amazing to be so appreciated and loved there, and to be able to go and play on big stages there has always been such a great gift and a blessing and a privilege. So, you know, the culture, it's just been embraced as a mainstream music over there.
And so when you're going over there, are you playing to a lot bigger crowds? And it's just received like that, and
it varies. I mean, it varies from country to country. You know, for me, it's so interesting because I really had to view it as like, and no disrespect to the European culture or their, you know, or their sovereignties, but it's like for me, I had to like look at it, especially when the EU, because I was touring over there back in the '90s before It was the EU. And it was like, you know, you had each country. And so it literally was like each state. It'd be like if Alabama spoke one language and Mississippi spoke a different language.
Okay.
You know, or Tennessee spoke one language and Texas spoke a different language.
Right.
I had to start looking at it as in terms of like, these are like states. And so certain states like Texas, we had great success. Germany, we had great success. You know, I mean, it was like, that's how we had to look at it. I had to like really wrap my head around it to really, that helped me kind of compartmentalize it and really kind of put it more into focus and perspective and look at it in those terms and not so much like it was this far away, big giant thing that was so different. So it was just like, I had to view it like state to state. Some states like Florida, we do better in than we would do in, say, wherever, you know, Idaho. I don't know, you know.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, you know, that's how we had to look at that. And then also, too, like I said, what also helps there is that culture has embraced blues and blues rock as a mainstream music. So,
and you've been doing that since you were young, man. Since you're like 18, you've been going over there, right? Is that right?
Oh, yeah. That's my first tours. I was 18 years old over there. It sure was.
Were you just tripping, man, when you went over there? You're 18 years old.
Oh, my God, dude. It was crazy. Oh, my God. I mean, I went over with Lucky Peterson. And, you know, I had been doing like Chitlin circuit gigs with Johnny Taylor and Little Milton and Bobby Bland, you know, whoever needed me, you know, and I'd get a call from the office and they'd go, "We're going out with Little Milton this weekend." And I'd go out with Milton, I'd go out with Bobby Bland, I'd go out with all these different people. And also coming home and playing with all of our local soul blues legends in Dallas and everywhere else. So I'd come home and do that too. So, you know, when Lucky called me, I think his guitar player either got a gig with Kirk Franklin or Sheila E. or some big like pop funk, big, huge gig. And he left and I got the call. And it was like immediate. It was like it was a matter of days, just like the other gig. I mean, but at least I had a little bit more time to prep, and I at least knew the band guys, and they were all friends of mine. And we were always hanging and jamming. So I knew what the show was like. I mean, I hung with the band and was always around. That's why they called me. You know, that's why they because I was part of the circle. I knew the show. I knew what the show was like, and it wasn't going to take me long. So we took off, and we did. We drove straight from Dallas to Toronto, Canada. Like, that was right off. We got in a van with a U-Haul trailer and drove straight to Toronto and played the Du Maurier Jazz Festival with the Blues Brothers with like no rehearsal. And I went, okay. And I've done a bunch of blues festivals around, you know, like, okay, a blues festival. This is cool. And then we did a couple other, we did like 2 more festivals in Canada. And then we went down to the East Coast and did a bunch of blues clubs, like all in New England and, you know, where the area that has always supported the blues. And we went down all through, you know, New England and New York and New Jersey. And then we got to JFK and it was like, all right, guys, going to Europe. And I'd never been to Europe. You know, and I went to the airport bar, did 3 or 4 shots of whiskey, got on the plane, was like, hell yeah, let's go to Europe, you know. And man, I get over there and like, you know, we land in Paris. I can't read any of the signs. And I'm like freaked out. And then we drive to the south of France, you know, we go to the French Riviera and we get out and we do this gig and there's 25,000 people in an amphitheater. It's like Red Rocks in the south of France.
Wow.
I mean, literally, it was like an identical image of Red Rocks except in a French Riviera. And I think we were in Marseille. I think that's probably we were in Marseille or Montpellier or one of those places like that in the south of France. And yeah, man, it was like, holy shit. I looked out there. I was like, you didn't tell me. Sorry, I didn't mean to cuss.
All good, man.
Okay, so I just was like, I looked out and I went, dude, 25,000 people, bro. Like, are you like, you know? So I thought we were going to play a bunch of little jazz clubs and pubs and, you know, France. I didn't even pay attention to the itinerary. I was like, we're just going to go play some blues gigs. And it was like these massive shows. So, you know, and then the next day we were at the Nice Jazz Festival with Jimmy Vaughan and Little Richard, and I like got on the beach and no girls were wearing tops. And I was like an 18-year-old kid on the beach, and every girl didn't have a bikini top on, and I was like, is this
real?
I don't know if this is okay or not. Like, should I be here?
What's it like? What's it like playing in front of that many people, man? What's that energy like?
Oh man, it's just so exhilarating, man. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just inspiring. It's you know, the thing that it does for me is it really just you know, it feeds, it gives me more to give back, you know. And I do that no matter what, even if I'm playing my guitar, if there's 5 people or 50,000 people.
Yeah.
You know, it's still like I can draw as much energy off those 5 people as I could off 50,000.
Yeah.
I just feel like it is a little bit more supercharged. You know, I have gone out and done big, you know, gigs. We were out many years ago with a couple of big rock bands doing some soccer stadiums in Europe. And, you know, we would go out on stage and everything would be just way too fast. You know, and I would have to,
the band was playing too fast.
Oh yeah. And I was running all the way back, all 100 yards back to the drummer.
Dude, slow down.
You know, running all the way back there going, dude, you know, because they're so like charged up. They're like walking out there and it's just the adrenaline. And I would have to slow everybody down and just keep pulling the band back and go, dude, you guys are playing way too fucking fast, man. Like slow down.
Yeah.
And the same with me. And then also too, I remember running out there being so charged up, side of the stage, just ready to go. And I remember running out on one huge big show. And then I'm like, they're like, you know, they announced me and I'm running out and I'm like, nothing is working. And I'm like stepping on pedals, turning the guitar, like, oh my God, I'm running around in circles and I'm screaming at Tex and I'm like, dude, my rig, it's blood, oh no. And the bass player and drummer are like still playing. There's like 15 people on my guitar rig. And then the tour manager standing there holding my guitar cable going, dude, you didn't plug your guitar in.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Everybody's tripping. Oh.
It was like, cause that
hilarious.
adrenaline, man, you know, just going out on the big stages like that. So just funny stuff like that. That's another one that could be added to the craziest things that ever happened.
Oh, for sure. Do you, like, before you go on stage in front of like people, do you still get like a little nervous or a little jittery or just kind of excited to get out there?
Oh, absolutely. No, absolutely, man. All the time. No, absolutely. It's a thing, man. Like, I remember standing on, again, I remember being at a festival with, you know, in Dallas, it was one of my biggest heroes. Like, we had a big storm coming in and they were watching the Doppler radar and they were getting ready to close out the show and it was going to be this big legendary moment. And they were watching that radar the whole time. And I mean, and this guy, like in my eyes and everybody back there was like the dude that invented this shit, you know? and to watch him walking around in circles nervous. And I even went over there and I was like, dude, are you nervous? And he just leveled me. And he was like, dude, like if you're not nervous before you play, like something is like literally wrong with you.
Right.
He's like, if you're not nervous, like you're not, he's like, that's not the kind of people that I want to be around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it made so much sense to me. I mean, I just went, wow. Because I have been around people that aren't nervous before they play, and it's like hard to be in the room with them.
Yeah.
You know, and it's hard to be in the room with them. And I mean, I get it to where you have confidence and all that, but there should be, okay, guys, let's make sure we're on it. And
do you
understand feeling good about the show. You know,
yeah. It's like, you know, the nervousness is like you want to do good. You know, you want to perform for your fans and do a great job, right?
Absolutely. That's the whole, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I get it, man, for sure.
Exactly.
I can't imagine, man, that energy coming back, you know, with that many people and just everybody's just so stoked and they're just, you know, they're just giving you that energy and stuff. Must be like a big high when you're done with the show and you're backstage and must take a while to come down.
It does, man. It does. And, you know, I learned from being on the road with Jeff Beck when I was a kid back then as well, was to get space. Jeff Beck, that was one of the most valuable lessons he ever taught me, was when you come off stage, because he watched me come off stage and then he watched me just get like dogpiled by people. and he watched my own team. He watched my own team and he watched fans just grab me and just drag me, you know, different directions. Yeah. And so he kind of, you know, and he was kind of like, you know, and I'd watch him go off and have his, you know, get his space and have a champagne or a beer and then take a minute and then come out and talk to everybody. And he was like, yeah, you need to be doing the same thing. So I learned the value of that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Absolutely. So talk to me about your songwriting and how you went about writing this new record of yours and the 10 tracks on it and whatnot. How did that go down?
It went down pretty interestingly, to say the least.
Yeah.
Very interestingly. I started to work with Joey Sykes, who's a songwriter and producer out in LA about 10 years ago or more, when I was working with a band called the Supersonic Blues Machine. We met during that time, and he had written some songs for that band as well as my solo record I did with that same kind of conglomerate. And so after that album, I did 2 records with that band and a solo record, and he had cuts on all those records. And after that last record came out, I toured about another year on it, and then I took a break. I took a long break to refocus on my wellness and my health, and I moved to Nashville through divorce.
Okay.
And I came here, and I took a big break, and then after my break, I went over to Little Rock. I was living in Nashville. I went over to Little Rock and did a show for the Arkansas River Blues Society. And they reached out to me and they said, "Man, we want to do a show." And Kingfish Ingram was involved. He had signed a guitar and donated it, and for a giveaway and et cetera. And I was like, yeah. So once I announced that show, then more offers came out that I announced that I was back playing again. And so Joey Sykes reached out and said, "Hey, let's me and you make a record. I'm excited you live in Nashville now. Let's do this." And so we started to exchange some ideas. We had songs left over that didn't make it on those last records. So we had a lot of material to work with, and I had material that I'd begin working with when I moved to Nashville. So what I ended up doing was we started to exchange ideas, and we had offers come in from Scandinavia and Europe, and then bang, COVID hit.
Wow.
So we were like, oh man. And I was like in total denial. I didn't even think it was real at first for like the first 2 weeks. I was like, this is not real. This is not happening. It's going to be like, this is not a thing. It's like a couple days. It'll be good.
Yeah.
And I was like business as usual. And everybody was like, no, Lance, Europe is shut down. This and that. And I just couldn't believe it. And it was like, dude, I just taken this big long break. And then like I was ready to play again, and all this happened. So it just shifted me, and that was the whole point of the title, Trouble is Good. This trouble then pushed me into getting a home recording rig. It pushed me into, I started working on tube amps and repairing and really delving into something I had already started, and I designed a couple of amps with some great amp builders, and I got way more hands-on and began repairing guitar amps here in Nashville, and like really dug in and just refocused my energies. And then at the same time, I started making this record, and I was recording at home, and and that's how we started doing it. We started exchanging ideas, and then we piecemealed it together, and then we'd send a track to a drummer, and he'd play drums on it. We send it to a bass player, he'd play bass on it. And we had iconic musicians show up and start playing on the tracks, like Greg Bissonette and Bobby Rondinelli and Brian Tichy, and on and on and on, Jurgen Carlson and Danny Miranda. We had all these great iconic musicians show up to play.
That's awesome.
And, I was just so grateful for it. And, that was the whole point of it too, was that, it was hard times. So we wanted to really, have some hard rock. Right. It was one thing to have the blues. I mean, we all, and that was the thing that COVID did, is that we all got to experience the blues. Like if you didn't have the blues, you had it when COVID happened.
Oh, for sure, man. For sure.
You know what I'm saying? So that's
absolutely.
how we got through it, man. And so we just piecemealed it together with all of our good friends. And then, and then it just came out the way that it did. And I was really, really pleased by it, man. Great musicians, great engineers. We had just everybody came together perfectly.
So when you guys are like, you and your buddy are doing the actual songs and piecing it together, are you just like making up like the riffs and the chords and he's playing on top of that, or how does that go? Like, are you just kind of making it up as you're going along?
Yeah, both. We kind of we exchange the ideas in a manner of where he'll have like a chord structure, and he'll send me a song. He'll send me like, here's, E minor, C, G, and D. And he'll write, and then he'll send me that, and then I'll go, well, let's add this bridge with A minor, C, and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
and send that back to him. You know what I mean? And then we go back and we get a progression. Okay, now we need some lyrics. Well, you work on some, I work on some. Well,
Yeah.
I like this line, but I don't like that line. Well, I like this. Well, here, try to sing it this way. I'd cut a vocal, send it. No, change this. Okay, back. So it was a huge process like that. And meanwhile, while the lockdown was happening, so that's
cool.
Kept me from going completely insane
Yeah.
because I was working on songs like that way, as opposed to like really focusing on that the world was crashing down around us. You know, I was like still working on songs.
Yeah, musicians had a hard time, man. Nowhere to play, and good time to write. Absolutely.
And I was writing this record and I was repairing guitar amps. So that's what I was doing.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, that's what I did. I mean, everybody else was live streaming and they had no gigs. And I was like working at the biggest amplifier shop here in Nashville. And most of all the celebrity artists here in town had like closets full of warehouses full of broken gear that they went, you know what? It's time to go ahead and get these 60 amps we've had broken for 10 years repaired. Send them over there to the shop. And so we'd literally get in truckfuls of stuff, you know, from all these big touring bands. And I sat there and just tore apart Fender Twins and Marshalls. And, you know, I became the Fender Marshall guy over there. So I was redoing Marshall heads and it was fun, man. It was a blast. I was changing speakers. I was working on a lot of Joe Bonamassa's stuff, Jared James Nichols. I mean, all of our contemporaries, all my, you know, friends and lots of huge, big country artists. I was working on all their gear. It was a lot of fun.
Wow. What's the name of this album?
Trouble Is Good.
Trouble Is Good. And where can people find it?
It's available on all your streaming outlets.
Okay.
You know, Apple Music, iTunes and Spotify, and all their usual suspects. And then you can get them on Amazon. And then Cleopatra Records is doing a limited edition orange vinyl. So yeah, it's available at all media outlets right now.
How'd you hook up with Cleopatra?
I met them through John Lappin, who I met at Johnny Winter's birthday party about 10 years ago, 9 or 10 years ago. And he had been working with Johnny. I hooked up with Cleopatra through John Lappin, who I met at Johnny Winter's 70th birthday party about 9 or 10 years ago, man. He was representing Johnny Winter and Edgar Winter, and we met, and I actually went on a session in which I mixed a session for Billy Gibbons and Johnny Winter.
Wow.
On Johnny's record, was it Get Back? I think it was the title of it. I was never credited for it. It won a Grammy. The producer never credited me on the track, but there's photos of Brendan Mulrooney and myself at Carriage House Studios in Connecticut mixing it. So yeah, we got some photos from the sessions. Then that went on to win a Grammy, and it was the one and only recording that Billy Gibbons and Johnny Winter ever did together, and I mixed it.
Oh, that's cool, man.
So we met that day, and then I ended up putting out a live album that night before at Johnny Winter's birthday party had been recorded, and so a couple of years later we put out a live in NYC record, and so that's how I began my relationship with him. We put that record out. We had a great working relationship. The president of the label and I were good friends, and we had a couple of great hangs in Hollywood back in the day, and their whole team would come see me play when I played in Los Angeles several times, and they totally understood my music. I mean, and you know, the benefit of Cleopatra Records is that they're probably the only record label that ever came to see me play live before they signed me. You know, most other labels I've ever been on signed me and then saw me play live after.
Oh, really? Interesting.
And so Cleopatra came and they saw me play and then signed me to a deal after they saw me play. And they got the music and they totally understood the influence and they totally understood, you know, where I was coming from. Yeah. And so that's how we did it, you know.
Cool.
So that's how we ended up doing the deal, you know, so well, is that we just all got along so great and they totally got the music. You know?
Awesome. What's it like living in Nashville?
Oh man, it's great. I got all our good friends are here. All our good guitar playing buddies are all here.
Is it just like a music place? Like you just go there and it's just full of clubs, people playing music? That's what I picture, anyways.
It is. It definitely is for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And are you playing in some of those clubs at all, like down in the downtown area?
No, I don't. I don't. I've helped a few friends out and gone down there and play. And I'll go down there and sit in with some friends of mine if they're down there playing. I'll go down there and sit in. But I usually play over in East Nashville at the old Underdog. That's kind of our normal hang over there. It's a great guitar player room and great guitar player hang. We also played at the Roadside Bar and Grill quite a bit here in town, and a couple other little spots we got around here that we like to play at, like the East Side Bowl and a couple others around. Papa Turney's Barbecue out on the lake. So we got our little
awesome.
We got our little our little hangs here. But yeah, Papa Turney's and East and the Underdog have kind of turned out to be some of our faves.
Dude, it looks like you got some shows coming up, right?
Yeah, we've got some touring starting Labor Day. We're going to really jump off the tour. We're really excited about August 29th. We're doing the official album launch here at the Gibson Garage in Nashville, Tennessee, and we're partnering with Gibson Guitars. And
sweet,
we're planning a special little party to really showcase the record and kind of announce the release in a very formal way with Gibson.
Where are you going to be going? I saw that it was like in...
Oh, on the tour?
Yeah.
We're starting in Florida and then back into Texas and Louisiana. And then we're going up to the Midwest in the fall, and then the Midwest and the East Coast in the fall. And then we're back down south after the first of the year, and then looking like we got some overseas things happening back to some East Coast and West Coast. So, Pacific Northwest, and I think we're actually coming out to California in December too. So.
Oh, in the summertime, next summer?
No, December.
Oh, in December. Okay. Do you know where that's going to be at?
We don't have the schedule yet. It's coming in. We should have it in the next. But you can find all that at lancelopez.net on the tour dates.
lancelopez.net.
.net. Yeah, that's the easiest way to find it. Under our tour dates button, we have all our tour dates listed. Yeah.
Okay. Where else can people find you if they want to check out your music and all that kind of stuff? YouTube. I know you got some videos and stuff.
Yeah, YouTube. We just have 2 new videos come out. One called Jam with Me. The other one's called Uncivil War. Those are both live on YouTube now at the Cleopatra Records channel.
Nice.
Also can follow us on IG at Lance Lopez Guitarist, and Facebook is Lance Lopez Band and Lance Lopez TX.
Nice.
We're really easy to find. Yeah, just hit us up. We'd love to hear from you. Give us a follow. Follow us on Instagram. Give us a shout out. We'll follow you back. We're very interactive on all those platforms.
Dude, I got to tell people, man, if you guys haven't seen Lance Lopez or heard his music or his videos, you guys got to go check it out, man, and see him, support him. His music is excellent. He's a ripping guitar player. Lance, thanks for being on my podcast, buddy.
Thank you so much, Guy. Look forward to seeing you soon, man.
Yeah, man. Take care out there. I'll see you out there.
You too, man. Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
It's a Guy Jeans podcast.